Sony has been on a downward spiral in regards to the content that is allowed on their platforms. They have really taken a step back, whereas their competitors have raised the bar and really flourished. Sony has gotten to the point where they will force censorship on the smallest of scenes, and they have even removed scenes from games completely. Now, I had discussed about a week ago that a Sony representative finally came out of their hiding spot to confirm that they had changed the censorship policies about a year ago, and the changes were here to stay. They were not changing them anytime soon. They were really happy with their policies. The representative from California had even gone as far as to say that they had changed their censorship policies due to the rise of the #MeToo movement. They wanted to match global standards more, even though they didn't talk about those global standards. And they even went as far as to say that they changed their policies to protect young people, since they said that gaming does not inhibit the sound growth and development of young people. But the spokesperson that said all of these things did say that they introduced new guidelines and they would not discuss them in detail. And a couple of days ago, a different Sony representative out of Japan said in an interview with a Japanese gaming outlet, GameSpark, that they did not have a censorship policy in place, old or new, and they wouldn't actually consider a censorship policy an actual set of rules because they judge games on a case-by-case basis. I personally don't think that I've ever heard of a company the size of Sony not having written out content guidelines. How do you expect game developers to have any idea of what would be allowed and what would be turned away? If they do not have a specific set of rules drawn out, they cannot create a game allowed on a platform. And I personally don't think that a developer should create a game specifically to follow these rules. But it would still be really helpful to have those in place. Don't you think, Sony? A lot of developers have spoken up and said that what Sony is doing is causing a lot of problems in the industry. Things that might have been allowed a year ago would not be allowed now, and it sets back games, and now we really have to worry about a game not fitting in the new standards, even if things are changed and censored. And I really want to know about these global standards that Sony has continuously referenced, since I do not see Nintendo or Microsoft at this point worried about these same standards, and they release plenty of games that Sony will not at this point. Who even set these global standards? I am curious, since in different regions and different places, different standards are set. Like in the West, we deal with violence a lot better than Japan, and Japan deals with sexual content a lot better than the West. So if this is a global standard and sexual content is getting targeted, shouldn't violence? What about games like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, where you can commit many different crimes, even murder people? Is that suitable for the younger audiences that they are continuously talking about? Are you going to ban those titles from your system? And the answer, I think, is no, because it makes Sony money. So our worst fear at this point is true. Every game is a case-by-case basis, and the employees are assigned different titles. They are the ones deciding what actually makes it onto the platform and what doesn't. The representative said that excessive sexual content in a game is monitored on a case-by-case basis by an executive officer at Sony. So if that censorship executive officer feels that it is too excessive, it's cut and something has to be done about it, and if not, the case gets dropped. That is a very, very pick-and-choose system. And in my opinion, I feel that this is what my worst fear was. That only one or two people would make such a large decision, and that is what we're being told. I am sure that these are people that can recognize super extremes when it comes to what is socially acceptable, but with no guidelines and a vague statement about global standards, this is leaving far too much up to interpretation. What happens if you are not a fan of these titles and this is your job? Do you just stamp denial on it and move along? In a job like this, personal taste can play a part in what you are doing, even if it is not supposed to. You're not supposed to put your personal preferences forward when you are looking at games and such, but that can make for games getting an unfair ban or unfair censorship in specific situations. Everyone has different tastes, especially when it comes to what type of games they want to play, and I really, really dislike when one specific type of game or one specific genre is pinpointed by people, and there are some types of people out there that will go on a crusade against that genre. If you do not want people attacking things that you like, then accept the fact that people like things that you might not. I am especially sick of companies and even people using excuses of, it does not help with the development of young people. I really want to see where you are getting this information besides out of the sky, because I see no references to any studies in regards to these young people and the video games that are affecting their development. It really becomes frustrating when you hear outrageous statements like this with no evidence to back these claims up. It can lead to a lot of people not really knowing the truth, and in situations like this, we've heard about these type of younger audiences and protecting them several times by Sony, and Sony has not come forward. None of these representatives have come forward with any solid evidence as to what they are referencing. If they gave me the evidence to show what they are referencing, I would accept it. I just want to see where they're getting this data from, but that is all that we really know that is new about Sony. I will keep you guys updated if anything changes, of course. This is something that I am following very closely because new consoles are going to be coming out, probably within the next year and a half, and within the next year we are going to hear about these consoles. And in the past, I would instantly go for Sony, I would instantly go for the PlayStations, and now I'm just not sure. If things like this do not change, I am not going to purchase their new consoles. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, and of course if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either which way, but I hope that you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys again really soon.